Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brad, an illustrator and animator with over 25 years working as a professional. In this video, I want to talk about the figure. More specifically, a traditional figure with realistic proportions that could help you with your character designs or posing. Drawing the figure with proper proportions can be a challenge when you're starting out. Here, I'm drawing an action pose of Rogue from the X-Men. I start with a very loose, flowing, rough idea. Then, I add structure and shape to find the correct proportions. Everything breaks down to shapes, especially when posing the figure. But we need to think of these shapes as objects in a three-dimensional space. So, before getting into complex character posing, let's break down the figure in a flat, static pose. Starting with the head and working down with loose flowing lines. We add a rectangle or rounded shape for the upper chest, a small circle for the hip area, and loose cylinders for the limbs. If I draw these shapes individually, they would look a lot like this. The upper chest, the cylinders for the limbs, and so on. Finding that correct shape for the limbs is based on anatomy, and it's something I'll cover in more detail in a future video. The average height of a character is around 8 heads tall. You'll start drawing this height automatically as you improve your drawing. And that can all depend on the character itself. It can be different sizes. And this one that I'm doing could actually be adjusted a little bit. Now let's give these shapes a more solid outline and check out this heroic Superman pose a little better. Now, let's use the exact same method to draw out and create a few action poses. I'll give these rough, sketchy poses a cleaner line, flesh them out, and see if they're working or not. This cleaner line is still very rough and loose, but it gives me a better idea of what the final drawing may look like, and if I need to change anything and adjust things. Here we'll try a character with a very different body type, but using the same loose, sketchy shapes to work out the proportions. This could be a character similar to the Hulk or Venom, or like a large brawler type character. Whenever you're working on these loose gestural poses, always keep it as rough and as flowing as possible. You can change it as much as you want later. This is just an initial idea. Now, let's work out a female character, just in a standard standing pose. I always begin with this S curve when drawing women. It'll come up a lot when you're posing them and drawing them in various scenes. Following that S-curve of the spine, the torso is always two rectangular shapes, and they taper right at the waist. This center gravity line gives me an idea where her weight-bearing leg should be. Height-wise, women always tend to be a little shorter than men on average, but when you're drawing them, they still tend to be around 8 heads tall, depending on the character design that you're going for. Because this is my initial rough gesture drawing of the female character, or any character, I'll tend to adjust it at this stage a fair bit until I get the stance and the proportions pretty much the way I want it. Something I do often, especially in the rough stage, is you'll see me flop the character so that I can see the mirror image. To me, this really highlights some of the mistakes in the proportion or some of the things that might be wrong with this imagery of the drawing. It shows me where I can improve before I go to a cleaner version. Now I'll clean up some of those rough shapes, just so I can get an idea that everything is working in proper proportions and structure. Here, as I'm roughing out the shapes of her limbs, her arms and legs, you'll see that I'm filling in a basic idea of her anatomy. Something that you'll get used to the more you draw and the more you draw the figure. Something to keep in mind is notice that S-curve comes up often, especially in the shape of her thighs. I'll continue to make some minor adjustments here and there, but for the most part, it's looking pretty sound. The breasts tend to rest somewhere about halfway between the shoulder line and her waist, the center of her waist. And that's pretty much it for these rough figure drawings. From here, I can use them to design new original characters or fan art of existing characters. But I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching to the end, and please subscribe for more and comment and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.